Knights of the Old Republic might get its own movie and or trilogy, and I could not be more excited. Size of Coin starts right now. Knights of the Old Republic. I didn't believe it. It still hasn't been confirmed, so there's still a chance. I mean, grains of salt, but it started with the clickbaity sort of sites, right, where it's like, I always assumed it would be the Old Republic in general, just like an old thing, but they're actually saying now, BuzzFeed reported that it was adapted from the video game Knights of the Old Republic.
And hopefully that's not a typo.
Well, because so there's two sides to this, or two bits leading into the story. Number one was at Celebration, MTV News asked Kathleen Kennedy, they said, are we ever going to see a Knights of the Old Republic storyline? And she said, oh, that's something we're working on, or we hear that a lot, or what have you. Now, I
think she did a little more confirming than that last time I read, but it may have been more speculation.
Well, she was confirming it, but I took that as,
what is she?
We're going Old Republic, we're going to do something from the old days, and, she didn't know.
It's hard to tell what she knows. She may know everything.
Like I said, I think, well, we'll talk Kathleen Kennedy another time. I know a lot of people, I think she may know more about some things, and then there's other things she doesn't care about as much. But yeah, so they said Knights of the Old Republic, and so she said that's something we get a lot, and we're thinking about it. And then this story came out, and I'm trying to find the actual name. I'll look it up. But what's your general excitement level to this news?
Very excited, because I think Darth Revan, or Revan's story, is one of the most complicated and well-written stories in Star Wars, and it's kind of sad that it happened in a video game setting, and when it happened in video game settings too, because Star Wars games especially, were not quite as prolific as they were at that time. There were a lot that came out, and I feel like KOTOR kind of fell under the radar a little bit for some people, especially considering of its style. It was one of BioWare's first. It was pre-Mass Effect, so the stuff they did was not... I mean, it's actually kind of the same game.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same game as Mass Effect 1 if you've played them both, but...
I haven't played Mass Effect, so yeah. And I'm going to say a spoiler warning, because we are going to get into the full story of Revan and everything. It's a game that came out in 2003. I mean, you can get it on your iPad. I've never been able to recommend something highly enough. This is the one thing. Just play the game. Play the game. But if you want to get it spoiled, then we're gonna talk about it. But the news article says it. I'm gonna butcher this name. Leda Kalogridis. She's a screenwriter. She's done Avatar, Shutter Island. She was involved with Alita: Battle Angel, and a few other films. Avatar's the big one. I mean, that made a bunch of money. It's the lead. So she's working on and is nearing completion the first script of a trilogy of films based off of Knights of the Old Republic.
If I remember correctly, too, that was one of Kathleen Kennedy's comments when asked about this, was that she was looking at female directors to write this.
Yeah.
Which, to me, I wonder, then, if that means that the story's not going to focus on Revan. Heck, they could make Revan a woman, because that's how the game was. You could play either way.
That's funny.
I didn't think about that.
That's funny you say that.
I never did, but I forgot. Like, that was totally a valid option.
It wasn't canon at the time. But now anything could be. Yeah.
It could be huge. Or it could be Bastila. It could be Bastila.
Yeah, and Bastila's a very strong character, and she's got a lot of character development.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of... So what would it take to... Obviously, I mean, I personally am attached very, very much so to Revan as he was, with the male character and all that sort of stuff. Is there a way they could pull that off? What would it take for that?
I'm less attached. It's been a while since I played the game, but I remember all the story and all the build-up and legitimately not understanding what's happening, because that's how the game plays. Like, you don't know who this Revan person is, and you're just kind of reading about this until you find out here's the spoilers,
Yeah.
that you are Revan.
It's you, yeah.
Right, you're playing
right.
a character. Huge implications. I don't think it really matters. I think that was one of the great things that game put out, was that it doesn't really matter whether you're the guy or the girl, except for the relationship with Bastila was the only thing.
Because Karth was a terrible...
Yeah,
like,
he was a really terrible romantic interest.
So. Like, yeah, it was so bad. And there's a chance. Fix it. Make it better. Make me care about Karth, because I never did. And I love this story so much, and Karth was just
low budget
like,
Han Solo.
Yeah, he was low budget everything. I never really cared for Karth, and I apologize to the 8 people that did, but but yeah, I'm not really So, okay, all right. So what about this then? Revan's a female.
I know that kind of messes up your next part of these questions.
Well, the first, if Revan's a female, it would be the first, potentially, provided they don't have her go for Karth, the first lesbian relationship. Watch that develop.
I don't think they'll do it.
But it would be a statement.
It would be,
because all the fans that really want it are the types that would be keyboard warriors about how they
hate it.
Yeah.
But they would actually be secretly loving it.
Yeah.
I think so this was one of the arguments against Rey going dark, which I think a lot of us older fans would love to see that have happened. See, like, Kylo kind of freak out that Rey's going so dark and they switch places. That would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
Because Rey's a Disney princess now. She's a role model for young girls, and they can't change that because she's already been established. But if they have the Game of Thrones writers or whoever they're getting for these, if they have they make it more of an adult-aimed trilogy, and they have the first Dark Lady of the Sith kind of thing happening, and I would be down.
So, and Game of Thrones, are you going to watch Game of Thrones? I mean,
No.
Okay. So, and spoilers for Game of Thrones, it's done, whatever. Khaleesi, right? Daenerys Targaryen, Emilia Clarke's character, she's one of the main ones, and she was like very heroic throughout the whole thing. She snaps and she goes just hardcore, crazy super villain, right? And so if they do something like, they've shown that they have the stones, so to speak, to make that sort of decision. I think that would be very, very interesting if that happens. But because Bastila went dark in the
right.
game, she was redeemed. But
what was the name of the planet, the species that made the Starforge?
The Rakatans, yeah.
And what was the name of their planet?
Lehon, but later it was Lehon, and then they called it Rakata Prime at the time.
Because I remember distinctly when The Force Awakens was coming out, and we learned that Luke was not around, that Acto, like, if you looked at the maps, was basically where Rakata Prime was.
And Rakata Prime was actually canonized in
that
the
map?
Force Awakens map. Yeah, it was in there.
And Starkiller Base is also in the same place as Ilum, but, that's a different story. They haven't talked about there yet. I want that to be
I'm pretty sure that's... Star Wars Explained has a whole series of videos on that. If you haven't... Have you seen any of his stuff?
I've seen a bunch of his stuff,
Dude, he's so great. He's awesome. The Rakata Prime thing, I mean, that would be pretty interesting if they've laid the groundwork all the way back to that. That'd be pretty cool. More realistically, Pablo Hidalgo is probably just throwing us a bone, being like, hey, you guys like this story?
I think there'll be some backlash so I don't think that they're going to have the Starforge in the plot. I think it'll end up being much more about Revan. If they do this, I think it'll be more character-driven than Starforge-driven kind of thing. Because the problem is people will cry again.
Death Star.
There's another Death Star. It's just a diamond this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think people would get it.
It's not unfair.
Yeah, it's not. It's not wrong. But it rhymes.
Yeah,
it rhymes. It.
Okay, so there were a couple things I kind of wanted to talk about specific to this. They're not sure if it's going to be theatrically released or if it's going to go on Disney Plus as like an exclusive movie, like Netflix has done a few times.
Right.
What would you prefer?
Do we know? I mean, I guess we don't know for sure at all, but movie could be cool. Trilogy of movies they're talking about potentially. Maybe it's not a trilogy of movies. Maybe it's a trilogy of. Maybe it's 3 seasons. Maybe it's a 3-season series. Maybe it's 3 Netflix movies, Hulu movies.
Well, they have said scripts to a trilogy of films, so I
films.
don't think it's a show. I think that's safe to rule out at this point. Yeah, they said films.
Assuming the rumor's correct. But.
So, yeah, well, they say in here, and now, okay, all of this is like you want to believe it, but also this. So, like, it's BuzzFeed,
Yeah.
but they have 3 sources in Lucasfilm, you know, but it's BuzzFeed,
Yeah,
so, you know,
those
it's kind of...
janitors, man, trying to
And
make a
plus,
buck.
I'm trying to check my bias because I really want this to be true.
Yeah.
I haven't wanted a rumor to be true so much. I mean, like...
Oh, and to this credit, right, Rebels very heavily recanonized a lot of KOTOR with the Mandalorian War, and they talked about the Mandalorians. And then Dave Filoni has previously said they are steering clear of anything that might contradict the Old Republic, the video game. Now, they said that kind of because the game was still being made, and they're like, well, we can't really just, like, throw them under the bus.
Yeah, they don't want to, like, shit all
yeah,
over
so they can't do that.
Yeah.
But that may also be because they had some future plans for it, so...
Yeah, and you remember the behind-the-scenes stuff when, I think it was the Morband episodes, or no, when they were on the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars, they had Legends-accurate models made of Darth Revan and Darth Bane, like from the books that were out at the time. They had that.
Oh, the 3D models,
yeah, they were so they were all the way down, and then they ended up cutting the scene. But so this has been in their mind.
They clearly want to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you love it. I mean, these games are, like you alluded to earlier, for me it goes like Empire Strikes Back, the world, I would say the world of the Old Republic is the richest of any in Star Wars. Like, if I want to live in this fantasy world, it would be there 100%, and then, you know, I'd be in the time of the prequels, and then everything kind of gets grittier and darker after that. I'm not really...
Before the dark times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's such a rich, awesome time. There's so much depth to it. Do you think they'd be able to capture that with the lower budget that would be associated with the streaming service, or would they have to do it theatrically?
It's hard because that's such a wide range of series, right? Because you've got like that new Teen Titans series that's like DC online, and it's like the Comic-Con cosplay community lost their minds because the costumes look like worse than people could make it.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So like that budget really hurt them, even though I don't know if the story's good or whatever, but you know, just the visuals, everyone could tell this is not a high budget production. But then you have like Daredevil and things like that everybody really liked.
Right.
So there's a wide range. I don't know that you can say, and we don't really know what Disney's abilities are going to be except for the trailers for Mandalorian, which look fantastic.
Yes,
the teaser.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If it's that quality,
I'm sure it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not hurting for money. So if this comes to pass, and now you threw me a curveball with the female Revan thing. I've got to think about that, but. Who would you, assuming Revan's male, just for the sake of argument, who would you like to see cast? Do you have any ideas?
It's hard because because his face is ambiguous in the game, right? You choose the face.
There is a canon face.
There is a canon face, but 2003 graphics are like, what does that canon face look like?
They made him more up to date in the Old Republic when he came back.
Oh, did they? I didn't actually see that. Yeah. So I don't know. I would want a good actor.
You want mine?
I could see. I mean, so a lot of people want Tom Hiddleston to play like young Palpatine. I could see Hiddleston doing something like that. That'd
be cool.
It's the guy who plays Xavier in.
Yeah.
I could see him being the Sith.
But Revan specifically.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Oh, you mean
Malik?
Yeah.
I could see him being Malik.
McAvoy. That's the word. I was like trying to have a hard time getting that.
Sorry. Specifically for Rowan, I don't know.
I was thinking McAvoy for Malik that'd be a pretty good one.
We just need a bald guy, and he's not really bald, but he works, right?
the one I think would be perfect for Revan, I've seen it on the internet a little bit, would be Keanu Reeves.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, he looks like Revan. I mean, it's like the Legends version of Revan is Keanu Reeves. But like, we don't know how, like Revan,
we don't know when the story's going to take place.
Revan did a lot.
Is this the the build up story where he becomes dark and then comes back, or is this the game story where he's already been dark and he came back and the Jedi are retraining him? And
exactly
the implications there are also interesting, that the Jedi at some point didn't care about age.
Yeah. Well, because he had already been trained. I mean, it was like a. Yeah,
it was all a farce. They were all
right.
you know,
They
messing
were like,
with
yeah, this has never happened before. You're special.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Who's this guy?
and for Bastila, I was thinking maybe like a Lily Collins or...
I said Gal Gadot, you know.
Yeah, that's a
but
good
that's
one.
probably
That,
not
that
gonna
is a
happen.
good one.
So here's the problem, though, is Star Wars movies tend to pick obscure actors to play these characters.
Oh yeah, I know. They're gonna
So
pick, like,
so it's going to be somebody either you don't know or somebody who's only been something like really small.
That's true. But I would push back on that a little bit because I think that for some of these, they're going to have to draw people in. They're not going to have the Han Solo moniker. They're not going to have that sort of stuff. So they're going to have to get... Because, like, look at Solo, what they tried to do with Solo, right? They got Woody
They brought him
Harrelson.
with, okay, that's true,
And,
but
you
side
know,
characters.
Yeah, and with Rogue One, they brought in Forrest Whitaker and
Right,
a couple
right,
other
right.
people that were more known. I wouldn't be surprised
Jared
if...
Imley's character is huge, too.
Yeah, Donnie Yen.
Yeah, Donnie Yen. I love Donnie Yen.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see either way, but I'd love to see...
But then, like, with The Mandalorian, they're really bringing in people with the names of people
Oh,
that
it's
are
star
producing
power
it.
for
It's
days.
yeah, it's you know, it's Jon Favreau. I'm sorry,
I'm hitting my table, Michael. Jeez.
it's Jon Favreau, and it's the guy who did Thor, and it's
Taika Waititi,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you got Bryce Dallas Howard doing
Right.
some episodes, and I mean, yeah, they
besides Dave Filoni, but
right, yeah, well, you know, he's
you can't help it at this point. It's Dave Filoni.
absolutely, yeah, no,
he's
I
basically like.
I think it
Lucas's
would do
son.
so much for. I talked about it in my reaction to the Vanity Fair stuff,
Mhm.
how I just desperately want the Star Wars fandom to come back together, particularly after Last Jedi and all this sort of toxicity and
Right.
the bubbling acid pool that was going on there with everybody's feelings and stuff. I think this is something that could really... And it could open up Star Wars to just wide open. I mean, all that universe is so... I mean, you've got Terrace. Like, Terrace has been canon in so many books now. They've mentioned Terrace like crazy. So we could get to see all these sort of things happen.
And the visuals that we can do now, compared to like what we saw in the game, which was impressive at the time, but like the visuals we could do. I mean, they go to Kashyyyk before it's you know ravaged and things. So
Right.
you see actual Kashyyyk, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool.
All the monsters.
You never see
I mean, we've got
like
like Torrent
stay up
attacks
and-
and the spider, the crab spider things. I forget
Yeah.
those Kinrath. All the different monsters and things. It would just be you could do so much with it. And I'm just tickled pink that they're actually, if this is true, that they're actually pulling from all this material. Like I was telling you off air or off camera that the Darth Bane books
Right.
are second to none as far as just overall storytelling and universe building. They're so strong. I would love to see that as a TV series. I mean, cast like Tom Hardy as Bane and just go through the whole thing. It'd be incredible. And if all these rumors are true, the rumor for the Obi-Wan thing, and I
I don't
mean,
know how that's gonna work. Ewan McGregor's never been in a series, has he?
oh yeah, he did.
Was
He
he
did Fargo. I think he was in Fargo for a while, and yeah, he's done
Okay.
television
Okay.
before for sure.
I mean, I want it to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd rather have a movie or like a series that lasts 10 years.
I want a series, a mini series. I think it lets you get more character development. I mean, especially being such a Game of Thrones guy, like you see these characters go through so much. Obi-Wan particularly. I mean, Christian Harloff has this pitched the idea of Darth Vader being the main villain for the Obi-Wan story. Dude,
So that's
Let
what
me
I
make the
don't want
pitch.
to happen, but I understand.
Let me make the
yeah,
pitch.
Yeah. I've thought about this too.
but he's got the... We're way off topic right now. But if you're here for KOTOR, you're here for Obi-Wan too. And let's just be real about that. You're not stopping at the original 3 Star Wars movies if you clicked on the KOTOR video. So the Obi-Wan and Vader thing would be a neat angle because in Return of the Jedi, when Vader's talking to Luke, he says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, right?
Right.
And none of this is my pitch. It's all Christian Harloff and Collider and all those guys, but they said that, like, you never see that. Obi-Wan tries in Episode 3, but he's trying to kill him.
It's a good point.
And, you know, you never see him try to... So the pitch was, he's sitting there. He thinks he's killed Anakin, and he's depressed and he's really, really sad. And then he finds out through
he's not dead, right?
Yeah, that he's not dead. And then he's like, well, this is my friend. I've got to try. And he tracks him down and tries, sort of like Ahsoka did in Rebels.
Right.
And then he really just, it ends where, you know, he knows for sure that this
something
guy,
has to happen that like makes him look like he aged an extra 30 years too,
and he's
living on the
dead.
desert.
Like he goes through some trauma where he's just like, my friend is
some maybe
dead.
potentially dark side kind of trauma that ages him.
Yeah, sure. Well, or just the mental exhaustion and all the, you know, the trauma that he went through. But
to the credit they're in episode 4 in A New Hope, when Vader first senses Obi-Wan's presence on the Death Star, he trails off. So he says, a presence I have, and I hate this because I'm like, this is a wide open, like this is retcon material right here. Like we can say, because they did this with Clone Wars and Anakin and Dooku, because Dooku is like, since the last time we met, yeah, and you assume that was episode 2, but Clone Wars is like, actually,
it was like 20 minutes
he
ago.
didn't say, so yeah, he saw him last
worked
week.
out so hard
last
since
week,
Tuesday, okay?
But so they have that time, and they had said, you know, Vader doesn't specify when the last time was he saw Obi-Wan. So, yeah, I can see that, and that's a good point. All right, I'll buy it.
I think we should. I think we should stop it here and sort of pick this up another time. But that movie's coming. What do you guys think? Do you think it's actually coming? Do you think we're way ahead of our skis here? We might be. This might be. I'm gonna be so disappointed if it turns out to be false. But right now, everything's looking pretty good. That we're gonna get a KOTOR trilogy, and I'm gonna let myself be happy about this. I'm gonna get excited. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. Say again.
Unless they make Revan a female.
even still, it could
private.
be done. It could be done well. Make Revan take Gal Gadot and put her in as Revan. That would be cool. Get that sort of olive skin sort of thing that Keanu Reeves would bring. Dark hair. I'm there for it. Let's do it. KOTOR's coming. I hope it happens, and we'll be back covering this in great detail in the next couple of months. Besides,